Hi, this is William Moore, and my topic was franchising in large chain stores and the impact they have on the economy and business. I chose this because I've researched franchises from the perspective of a potential franchisee, and I opted to go with an independently owned business concept I've come up with. And now I'm finding that I'm having to compete with the franchises, which they do have some. The economic impact for franchising is rather large. You can see the numbers in front of you right here. 7.6 million jobs, 1.6 trillion in the U.S. economy, and still a very high growth rate. In fact, it was expected to increase by over 6% in 2017. The economic impact in North Carolina, a little bit more granulated data here, 25,000 franchise locations just in North Carolina, and nearly 300,000 people employed by franchises. The distribution of franchises by type is generally dominated by restaurants. In fact, mostly quick service restaurants, but you can see there's definitely some other industries. Advantages of franchising for franchisors. Number one is expansion capital. You're using someone else's money, the franchisee, to fuel the expansion. And now you get motivated management because that franchisee is fully invested. Their return on investment is tied to their performance and their effort. So that leads to rapid growth. The lean structure can be maintained at the headquarters, and that rapid growth leads to a higher valuation of the business. If it was traded on a stock exchange, it would trade at a higher multiple. Reduce risk for the franchisor because the franchisee bears a lot of it, both in terms of capital and otherwise. Disadvantages for franchisors, less control at that location, but you maintain a lot of control still through your franchise agreement. Friction over royalty payments. Essentially, a franchisor is going to want to increase their sales. They might reduce prices to do that, which might cut into the profit margin, and the franchisee then is going to feel it in their bottom line. And a weaker core community because really you have much less at the headquarters and not a constant exchange between the headquarters and the franchise. Advantages of franchising for franchisees, it boils down to the startup phase. There's a risk of failure that is very high, 65% in the first 5 years for an independently owned business, whereas only 2.5% of franchise-owned locations fail annually. They have a proven business model. And the franchise model really leverages a number of advantages. For example, they act as a large chain, but with a lean structure. So they have a vertical marketing network and supply chain network. And independent businesses are really more on their own for marketing and supply. And franchises can leverage their growth for greater influence in things like negotiation of space. So I'm losing out to some locations to franchised businesses. And franchises also have lower interest rates. Disadvantages for the franchises, for the franchisee. Beyond that first 5 years, really, they perform about the same as an independently owned business, except the independently owned business is not paying a royalty. Franchise agreements sometimes work out to be very restrictive for the franchisee. An example is restrictions and fallback options for the franchisee are very limited. So they limit that you can't compete with that business. You can't have income outside of that business. You can't introduce a new franchise. The franchisor may introduce a location that might compete with yours. And the franchisee has right of first refusal in franchise sale, which could end up reducing your sale price of your business, or it might void the sale overall. And it also sometimes restricts hiring, pay, and promotions for your workers. Here you see the 2018 tax reform, lowered corporate tax rates, provided a deduction for pass-through entities, gave 100% bonus depreciation in the first year of purchasing equipment, real estate, supplies, and more money in the hands of middle-class taxpayers. And what businesses are doing, they're hiring, they're maybe increasing some wages, more employee training. They might restructure to become a pass-through entity. And the franchise landscape is changing. There were many franchisees available in 2009 in the recession. Today, not so much. Thank you.